freezing courthouse. It's very cold in there. On purpose, I believe.
On purpose, yes. Donald Trump believes the chilly temperatures are a deliberate effort by the court to torture him.
They don't seem to be able to get the temperature up. It shouldn't be that complicated, but we have a freezing courthouse.
By most accounts, Donald Trump's freakouts are intensifying.
I think we have a judge that will never allow this case to be over in a positive way. He's highly conflicted. The most highly conflicted judge I've ever seen.
Several Trump friends believe the meltdowns are now related to this. Secret Service prepares for if Trump is jailed for contempt in hush money case. Quote, officials do not necessarily believe Judge Merchan would put Trump in a holding cell in the courthouse, but they are planning for contingencies, the officials said. And never mind Trump possibly going to jail during the trial for violating a gag order, one of Trump's lawyers, Alina Habba, is predicting after just the second week of trial that on several charges, Donald Trump will be convicted.
And what are you thinking tonight about everything?
Exactly how I felt that day, I think, until it's over and behind us. But I don't have hopes really that high at this moment that the New York courts will do the right thing, that the jury will do the right thing. We're in a blue state, as you know, Greg.
Habba's pessimism not only undermines the fellow Trump lawyer who is actually doing the work in this trial, but it could also encourage the jurors to return guilty verdicts.
Note to Alina Habba, they go home every night. They're not supposed to watch TV or talk about it, but they're also not sequestered. And so do you think it's a good thing to be telling the jury effectively in the outer world, in the real world, that you think your guy is going to get convicted by the jury in New York? I don't understand the thought process here.
It could be that Alina Habba is managing political expectations and preparing MAGA world for bad news. Or perhaps Habba actually thinks Donald Trump is in trouble. Reality. Either way, it all adds to the growing pressure on the former president. So how does Donald Trump cope? Well, as we've seen for years, Trump often relies on delusions. Delusions about himself and his businesses, delusions about other people, delusions about top political and legal issues. Recently, the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments over Trump's claims of presidential immunity.
I think in the Supreme Court having to do with immunity, I heard the argument was brilliant. I listened to it last night. I thought it was really great. I thought the judge's questions were great.
Trump thought the hearing was great and seems to believe he's going to win. But the argument the Trump team put forward to the justices is extreme. Here again is the Midas Touch Network.
Trump's lawyer before the Supreme Court said, yes, Trump can order the military to kill his political opponents. Yes, Donald Trump could sell nuclear secrets. Yes, Donald Trump could launch a coup against the United States of America because those are official acts and Trump would be subject to immunity. That's exactly what Donald Trump's lawyer was saying in Washington, D.C., while Donald Trump was walking into the Manhattan criminal trial.
Nearly every legal expert believes there is no way Donald Trump is going to get full immunity, and that the most favorable Supreme Court scenario for him is a mixed ruling that might delay one of his federal trials. But again, Trump has convinced himself that the Supreme Court is going to save him. Another set of delusions Trump is leaning on to cope with the prospects of jail time involves the U.S. presidential campaign of 2024. Despite all polls showing Joe Biden gaining ground the last few months and Donald Trump losing support nationally and in key battleground states, Trump thinks the opposite is true. And his election pipe dreams now include New York State.
And I think we have a good chance of winning New York. We're going to give it a big play. We're going to the South Bronx to do a rally. We're going to be doing a rally at Madison Square Garden, we believe. We think we're signing Madison Square Garden to do it. We're going to have a big rally.
Let me be clear. Donald Trump could do rallies in the South Bronx every day and Madison Square Garden every night until November, and he would still lose New York State by double digits. No matter how entertaining Trump thinks he is to New Yorkers, the state is not going Republican in 2024. Even if the Almighty came down and told New Yorkers, vote Republican or else, a majority of New Yorkers would still choose or else. But if Donald Trump wants to spend some of his campaign cash on events and rallies in New York, so be it. It'll help the economy. And one can understand Trump's reliance on a political fantasy world to keep himself going. The prospect of criminal convictions and jail time must be terrifying to Donald Trump. And while the former president soothes and deludes himself with the 2024 campaign and the Supreme Court, the reality of what's happening in a New York courtroom appears to be settling in. Donald Trump is in serious trouble. The walls of justice are closing in, and so Trump is freaking out about the judge and even the courtroom thermostat. I suppose it's easier for Trump to chalk up his chills to a deep state judicial conspiracy, but delusions will only take Donald Trump so far. Eventually, his fantasy bubble's gonna pop, and if anybody thinks a courtroom is cold, well, by most accounts, prison cells are worse. By the way, some of Donald Trump's MAGA morons in Arizona are facing criminal charges because of their own video and stupidity.
This was the scene back on December 14, 2020. It's all right there on tape.
Yeah, I mean, they taped it.
They taped it just to make sure, you could see it. When 11 people met at the Republican Party headquarters in Phoenix to sign a certificate claiming to be Arizona's 11 electors.
These are wild charges. I'm sure none of this ever happened.
Yeah.
We're going to get some corroborating witnesses. We'll help you out. We'll get reasonable doubt.
Okay.
Nobody will even know this happened.
This is what we do.
Because it never happened.
Yeah.
There's a video? You have a video of the conspiracy? I mean, come on. What's wrong with these people?
You signed it?
You signed it.
You made it official.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Francie Sex Breyout, who wrote, "They cheated and didn't even win. That says a lot about their incompetency." Indeed, nobody's ever going to claim the folks in the MAGA world are very bright. I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump freaking out and deluding himself as the walls close in. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.